People think that on the 8th of May 1945, when the Russians liberated me, that I was liberated. But in actual fact, I wasn't liberated, because the Holocaust is part of you. It's inside you.
It hurts me that I have to tell them such a horrible story.
We were always open with the kids and with the grandkids, to tell them what we had gone through.
You do not want to raise a child which would perceive the world as a torture chamber. On the other hand, you also want them balance. When is it that you sit with your son or daughter and tell them, yes, this has happened, and this is where your family has died, and all they are is the ash somewhere in Europe.
This is a star that I wore in Budapest for 2.5 years until we were liberated in 1945.
I just feel like I'm holding just like a big brick. It's just like, it's so little, but it feels so heavy.
This is where it was.
It brings back all the memories. Like, I couldn't bear to constantly think about what we went through.
You know, until you see it, it's not real. It's just a story. It's just a memory.
It's so visceral and such a big part of our lives, really, actually, growing up, and it was kind of always there.
It's deplorable, really, that so many had to die and so much pain had to be endured.
I started really digesting everything when I had my first breakdown. And my first breakdown was in 1967. I was living in South Africa. I was struggling very hard to make a living. And I started having these terrible nightmares, and I had a breakdown. And I had to start having psychiatric help. And that is, I started thinking both about the past, about the future, and what is going to happen to me. Am I going to survive? Is my family going to survive?
Trauma is in our genetic makeup. There is no question that trauma affects every generation differently.
It never leaves me. There is no minute in my life that I don't remember.
You try and live a normal life, but at the same time, you are always held back. It's almost like there's something at the back of you that kind of holds you back and says, but wait a minute, you know, you're a Holocaust survivor, and all those memories are going through. So, for example, a wife of a Holocaust survivor or a husband of a Holocaust survivor is not easy.
Or I'll tell you what, or a grandson of a Holocaust survivor. And I wouldn't compare the two. With every generation, you become further removed from the trauma and the pain and the suffering. But the way you showed love wasn't normal. And for a child, I didn't understand. To me, I genuinely questioned the love. I felt very much like there was a lack of.
I can relate to the fact that some people have difficulty expressing their emotions.
When I say love, I don't know how to experience real love. My love is fear. I always am worried about you.
I am a warrior, and if anything happens with them or to them, I'm scared to death.
Love is one of the most basic human conditions, but when you had such a horrific background, it is understandable that love is not easily demonstrated.
It was never a problem to feel love. There always was the, let's say, the consideration how safe my love is. And after years in horrible circumstances, most of us saw the places which we once called home empty.
You expressed your concern, and that was your expression of wanting to be alive. When I express myself, my love is expressed in a kind of...
And that was something very hard for me to ever figure out. I didn't learn that until much later.
I feel that I can't give them what I should give them, because there is always something behind.
You know, you say that, but I feel like that, you know, you're so strong because you say that this is always something you're thinking about, you know, this is always your memories of this. But when you're with us, you know, celebrating at a holiday or anything, you're always so fun, and, you know, you have a great sense of humor, it's amazing to see, you're so strong that you can still have such an amazing time with us, even though you say, this is something that's always on your mind.
Sapta's the life of the party.
She is.
Everyone loves her.
There's not a day that goes by where I don't think about what you went through. Like, there's not a day that goes by. I don't live with a black cloud, but I think some people call it like generational trauma, but to me it's, I live with your story every day.
When you go to school, you learn history. Here I am, in the history, I'm still alive, and I can talk about it.
I would like them to be able to tell other people what happened during the Holocaust and how close their immediate family, meaning my husband and I, were close to be taken into the gas chambers and so on. They have to know.
It's very hard to talk to the children about such a horrible thing. It's very painful.
It's obviously upsetting for us to hear, but important for us to hear, and I think they knew that, and that's why they always raised us with this part of their lives, knowing that they went through this trauma, but they survived it and they lived their lives.
Frankly, none of us could ever remotely comprehend, what Safta and what, the other 6 million went through and all the survivors have gone through. Gave us an appreciation. It made us realize the statistical improbability that our family is and our lives are in general, and that's something that we should be very proud of.
It's so important to carry on the story so that we can just continue to fight against future atrocities, things that are happening, sort of can happen right in front of your eyes and maybe too late to stop them.
You may remember after we came back from March of Remembrance and Hope, I was feeling very invigorated by the whole experience and had done so much reflection on that trip. And that's when I think it started to dawn on me that I have a responsibility to make sure your story doesn't get lost, and in whatever way making an impact in whatever way I can.
The Holocaust did not start with the concentration camps. It started with words in the early 30s. And when I think about that now, it scares the life out of me.
It's difficult to see how much anti-Semitism is going around the world right now, and to hear my grandmother say that she's scared again. It's so scary to see things that are repeating.
There is a lot of anti-Semitism right now. I don't always like to publicly announce that I'm Jewish when I meet people, and it makes me very upset.
It's definitely a concern that, I see every day. I mean, even at university, you see acts of anti-Semitism, a lot, even in my class right now, it happens. And it's even more impactful to me, as a grandchild of a Holocaust survivor, to think, this is something that my grandmother went through to an exponentially higher level, but it wasn't that long ago, the Holocaust. This is our grandmother. She's here with us now.
Sometimes I am worried about what I tell you from my school experiences or places where I've...
But I want to know.
I know, but then it makes me worried that you're going to worry too much about me and that I'll upset you, that things are happening that I wish weren't happening, but that you've prepared me to be so courageous and stand up for myself.
A pinpoint for me was when my grandfather came to my elementary school. I think I was in grade 8, and he came and told his story to my entire grade. And a lot of my friends, that was their first time hearing about a survivor and their story. But for me, it opened my eyes to, we have to teach, we have to tell others about their stories, and it opened my eyes a little bit more.
Some of my friends don't really know that much about the Holocaust, and because my grandmother telling me all these stories, I can share it with my friends and educate them better.
You hit the right word. Education is the key.
Educate yourself. Education is all the riches you need.
I'm sitting here talking to a piece of history and also my great-grandmother, and it's just really important to hear what our family means to you. And now I'm way more motivated to learn more about being a Jew and what the Holocaust was like for you and for everyone else. And yeah, it's just really special to me.
Well, thank you, Sydney. It's very important for everybody to understand the past, and not only the Jewish past, but how, unfortunately, history has evolved.
God forbid something like the Holocaust were to happen again, and it's so important now more than ever to learn about the Holocaust, to ensure that we're doing things and taking the right steps to call out anti-Semitism and discrimination and hatred in other forms.
You always anticipate, that God forbid it should happen again.
I don't believe for a minute that one religious group is superior to another religious group. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Christian, Muslim, or whatever you are. The problem is with whether they have love or hatred in them. That is what's important.
I choose to hope that change can happen and that we can try to avoid something else.
This history, what happened, already 75 years ago, some people, not many of us, they're still alive, and we can here I am, I can tell about this history.
You must tell what happened in the past. You must also say what is happening now, and you must try and educate people what shouldn't happen in the future.
The Holocaust must live on, the memory of it must live on, the lessons learned must live on.
You can go back to the place but not really experience it for what it was. Mm-hmm. And we can never recapture that, but the closest we can get, of course, is listening to the stories from the survivors, because I think human beings do need that guidance to get to that point, rather than give in to those sort of base, brutal instincts that are with us. We have to do all we can to fight against them.
As parents and grandparents, we of course try to prevent for them to experience any kind of hardship. As parents and grandparents, we try to ensure that they are not hurt. But life doesn't go like that. You will be exposed to hurt. You will be exposed to hate. I trust that they will have the fortitude and the background to know how to handle it.
I am convinced that it's an educational necessity to study why was it possible at all to happen, and how we next time prevent something like this, even the thought of it reoccur. And I don't think society did enough then, and I'm sorry to say I don't think even today we are enough.
Every Holocaust survivor story is a love story. It's love of life, love of family, and love of freedom. And these two children have known nothing but freedom, but they must know their history. They must tell the world, because history does have a tendency to repeat itself, especially to those people who don't know it.
This compels us to really speak out towards injustice and equality. Of course, we have to be educators, we have to be advocates within our own communities, speaking on behalf of the Jewish communities, but it's essential that we stand up to fear-mongering and inequality and hatred, regardless of race, creed, color. We've got to unify on that front, and sadly these days it seems to be more and more divisive.
I think something that's always been instilled in us and always been an echo of my grandfather's experience is to always have hope. That can also get us through any adversity that we face in our lives, especially as members of the Jewish community, and to remember that we are hopeful for a brighter future, and our grandparents fought for that future for us.
I would hope, if it is possible, to continue and perpetuate the history of the Gute family.
I would love to. It feels, like I said before, like an honor.
If you do take over my story, you should also remember that to fight all kinds of iniquities, it doesn't matter what they are, fight Islamophobia, homophobia, xenophobia, racialism, religious intolerance, and hate, above all hate.
If we just change one person's attitude, we have succeeded. And I'd like to think that we can change the world one classroom at a time. If there is one thing that I would like them to emulate, it would be resilience and love.
When I first learned about what you went through, I just remember feeling like a sense of just like seeing your strength. And I've never since that moment lost that. I want my children to understand where they come from in order to prevent them having to go through something like this, or their children, their grandchildren. I'm only here, and they're only going to be here because you survived.
My Septa's my hero. She has really taught me a lot, and I think you're a huge inspiration, Septa. You're the strongest person I know. You really showed us like what it means to be resilient, what it means to be able to take a really negative situation and raise a family, and you've really been able to turn it as much as you can into a positive.
I'm really, I'm lucky I have beautiful grandchildren and my children.
You know, we're lucky. You know, Safta, you're an amazing role model. It's not just about what you've been through, it's about, you know, who you are now. Yeah.
Love you.
I love you.
To flash through my mind with my mother and grandmother and holding these hands. It's emotional. So I'm very, very proud of these two children, my grandchildren.
Our family is so tight, and that stems from what my grandparents experienced and how family is so important.
I keep thinking that Hitler didn't accomplish what he wanted. I personally was very close to be taken away. His plan was to kill every Jew during the Holocaust, especially 1.5 million children. Look at that, how many people are alive today of the survivors, children, grandchildren, and the lucky ones already, great-grandchildren. It's beautiful.
It's incredible to hear her say that we stand as a representation of that Hitler failed and that he didn't succeed what he planned to do.
It's wonderful to have a grandson, especially a beautiful one like him, a good-looking one, eh?
We were planned to be destroyed and annihilated. It did not occur. We have to understand that when I was liberated from camp, I was all alone. All 50 members of my family were murdered in cold blood in different camps. We have this family which grew from nothing. You know, it feels like an ultimate victory to sit here surrounded with the 4 generations, all aiming high for achievements, and I think doing the right thing for society.
You're showing us how to live life to the fullest, and the love that you and Papa represented and what we can strive for, and build this family from nothing coming here to Canada.
That's right.
How your life inspires us, and we love you and we're grateful for it.
I love you. I got the most wonderful grandchildren in the world.
I'm sure every speaker.
Wow.
All the others are saying the same thing, I know. But it's true.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Love you.